A notebook that lets you kill anyone just by writing their name. Yeah, this one gets pretty dark pretty fast. This is the entire story of Death Note, one of the most intense psychological thrillers in anime history. The show follows Light Yagami, a top student who stumbles upon a mysterious black notebook. The rules? Simple. Write a name while picturing the person's face and boom, they're gone. Sounds pretty fishy, right? Well, he tests it out, and it actually works. Light makes a decision that will change the world forever.
I'll do it. Using the Death Note, I'll change the world.
What follows is a high-stakes game of cat and mouse between Light and the legendary detective known only as L. Every move is a gamble. Every step could be a checkmate. You think you know what's going to happen? You don't. But you're about to find out. Episode 1, Rebirth, kicks off the show in a dark, desolate wasteland. Welcome to the Shinigami realm, a place where death gods kill time by gambling and doing basically nothing. But one of them, Ryuk, is bored out of his mind. While the other Shinigami are busy gambling, Ryuk has his eyes set on something far more interesting, the human world.
This world is rotting.
Meet Light Yagami, a high school genius with perfect grades, a perfect reputation, and zero patience for humanity. In class, while his classmates goof off, Light stares at the TV watching a non-stop flood of crime, war, and corruption. He's not impressed. The next day, during class, a black notebook falls from the sky. Yep, this is the Death Note. And so after school, Light picks it up and flips through the pages. The first rule immediately stands out. The human whose name is written in this notebook shall die. Worst case scenario, nothing happens. Best case? Well, you're about to find out. Because soon after a hostage situation takes over the evening news, a violent criminal is holding people at gunpoint, and the police just can't stop him. His name and face are right there on the screen, so Light figures, why not? He writes the name down and he waits.
A heart attack in 40 seconds? We'll see.
40 seconds later, the hostages run free, and the criminal suddenly dies of a heart attack. Light is as shocked as he could be because there's no way that this book actually caused this. So he does another test. On his way home one day, he spots a biker gang harassing a woman. He overhears their leader's name and rushes into a shop to write it down. This time, he gets creative too. He writes down a traffic accident as the cause of the death. Because if you're gonna play God, you might as well make it exciting.
Now, what will happen?
40 seconds later, the gang leader's ride gets absolutely wrecked by an oncoming truck. Yeah, it's real. And Light just took 2 lives. Back in the Shinigami realm, the other gods laugh at Ryuk for losing his notebook. But this was all part of Ryuk's plan. He dives into the human world next, without a second thought and a massive smile on his face. The next day, as Light gets home from school and hands his mother his perfect test scores, he locks himself in his room and opens the Death Note again. This is when we see it. Pages and pages completely filled with names. This wasn't just an experiment anymore. You know, some kids get into journaling and others get into indirect murder. Then suddenly, boom, a monstrous figure appears in his room.
I am the Shinigami Ryuk. That used to be my notebook.
It's none other than Ryuk. Light screams, falls out of his chair, and yeah, that's fair. But the moment he collects himself, he tells Ryuk, I've been waiting for you. Light then explains his new world order. By eliminating criminals, he'll create a perfect society where no one dares commit a crime. A world where people live in fear of divine judgment. And at the top of it all will be him.
It's just as I thought. Humans are so interesting.
Oh boy, this is only the beginning. In the next episode, Confrontation, we're back in class, where Light casually translates a sentence into Japanese, all while feeling like the tiny little god that he is. After school, a classmate invites Light to hang out, but he turns him down because he's busy. And by busy, he means locking himself in his room and methodically writing down the names of every criminal he can find on the news.
If I'm serious about trying to create an ideal world that's free from evil, then I need to make the most of my time.
As Ryuk watches, Light explains that his time with the Death Note is limited. Between school studying and maintaining a normal life, he can't afford to be reckless. His writing session is then interrupted by a knock at the door. It's his younger sister, Sayu, asking for help with her math homework. Light quickly hides the notebook and lets her in, but Ryuk casually drops a new rule on him. If anybody touches the Death Note, they'll be able to see Ryuk.
If anyone else touches that notebook you've got hidden in the drawer right now, they'll be able to see me too.
Light keeps a poker face, but curses at Ryuk mentally for waiting until now to mention this. He then helps Sayu with her homework, while Ryu covers in the background, clearly enjoying the situation. Meanwhile, the ICPO is in full meltdown mode. 52 criminals dead in 2 days. No leads, no suspects, no patterns, except for the fact that all of them died of sudden heart attacks. Some officers think that this might be a miracle. Others realize this is a mass murderer with supernatural powers. And when the world's best detectives can't figure it out, there's only one person left who can. L.
What's this L they're talking about?
We don't know L's real name or whereabouts. In fact, we still don't even know what he looks like.
You see, L is an anonymous detective. No one knows his real name, no one knows his face. But there's one thing that everybody does know. He has never lost a case. And fortunately for the ICPO, he's not only agreed to help them, but he also has already begun his investigation. According to L, Kira, yep, that's what they're calling him, is in Japan. Somewhere. Light just got a really bad feeling, and he doesn't know why. Back at home, Light is already thinking ahead. He constructs a hidden compartment in his desk, placing a fake diary on top and the death note between a false bottom. If someone tries to force it open the wrong way, the entire notebook burns to ash. Ryuk watches as Light tells him that he'd rather burn this whole house down than anybody find the death note, which is totally normal behavior for an anime show.
It all comes down to a choice. Would I prefer to be executed or deal with a little house fire?
On the outside, people are starting to talk about Kira. While the mainstream media refuses to acknowledge him, the internet is a different story. Anonymous message boards are flooded with debates, support, and fanatics calling him a savior, which means Light has gained an army of believers without even trying. Then, the TV suddenly cuts to a special live broadcast from the ICPO. A man in a suit appears on screen. He introduces himself as Lind L. Taylor, alias L.
I am Lind L. Taylor, otherwise known as L.
This is the first time L has ever revealed his face, and even the police are shocked. Taylor looks directly into the camera, openly condemning Kira. He calls him a murderer. He tells him he will be caught. And then he makes the mistake of saying Kira is evil. Ooh, Light doesn't like being called that. And so, in a single motion, Light writes Taylor's name in the death note.
I'm the one who will become the god of a new world that everyone desires. All those who would oppose that god, they are the ones who are truly evil.
40 seconds later, Taylor clutches his chest and collapses on live TV. Light smirks. L was supposed to be a genius. He just walked straight into his own execution, until the screen changes. The large L insignia appears, and the real voice of L comes through. Apparently, Light walked straight into a trap. Taylor was never L, he was a decoy. And in proving his power, Light just made a big mistake, and got outplayed. L reveals that this broadcast wasn't global. It only aired in the Kanto region of Japan, so he now knows exactly where Kira is operating from. What's more, Light's first victim was also reported only in Japan. So with that, L narrowed Kira's location and identified his first crime. Police are floored by L's deduction skills, while Light is just furious. But Light isn't shaken for long. He looks directly at the screen with his mind racing. L wants a challenge, and he's going to get one. Both men stare each other down through the screen, as they each say,
I am justice.
And this is where the next chapter begins. The next episode, Dealings, begins with the police still being stunned by L's latest discovery. But there's no time to waste. They hold another meeting, reviewing the information they have so far. Kira is in Japan. Kira needs a name and a face to kill. But guess what? L has a new theory. Kira is most likely a student. He has his reasonings too. The times of death are too consistent, almost as if they're being planned around a school schedule. Criminals aren't dying overnight or in the early morning. They're dying when a student would be free, afternoons, evenings, and weekends. To confirm his suspicions, L asked the police to check if all the victims' faces were shown in the media before their death.
In particular, I want to know if photos of the victims were made available to the public in Japan.
If they were, it would prove that Kira's relying on external sources for his kills. Back with Light, he's helping his sister with her homework at the Yagami household when his father, Soichiro, comes home from work. Soichiro is an exhausted but dedicated chief of police, completely unaware that the very criminal that he's hunting is sitting in his living room doing math with his little sister. Take your kid to work day is about to be really awkward. Thanks to their shared home network, Light is able to hack into his father's police files. One step ahead as always. Scrolling through the investigation notes, he sees L suspects that Kira is a student. Light isn't really bothered by it, because he expected this. L is right, but Light's not about to let some anonymous detective ruin his homicidal homework routine.
If I write heart attack as the cause of death, then I should be able to write down all the details, including time of death afterwards, shouldn't I?
To throw L off, he adjusts his tactics. Instead of killing at predictable times, he manipulates the times of death so that criminals die while he is in class, participating in school events, or anywhere else with an alibi. If Kira is a student, then how is he writing names while taking a math test? Maybe he's just really good at multitasking? I don't know. But you see, it isn't that easy to fool L. The police held another emergency meeting. 46 deaths in 2 days, each spaced exactly 1 hour apart. L immediately picks up on the pattern. Kira is flaunting his ability to control the time of death, almost as if he's sending a message. But something doesn't add up. Does Kira have access to police information? Back at home, Light explains his plan to Ryuk. L is going to start suspecting the police, and when the police realize they're under investigation, they'll start questioning L himself. If Light can push the police far enough, they'll expose L's identity, and then he'll finally be able to eliminate him. So, Bro is basically gaslighting the entire police force. But L's suspicions are already having an effect. At the MPA, 3 officers approach Soichiro and hand in their resignations because they're scared. They confirm that every victim's face was broadcast before they died.
We don't hide our faces, we're out in the open.
Sir, the truth is we could be killed by Kira at any time.
Unlike L, the police have their names and faces publicly known. If Kira really does have access to their investigation, then they could be next. And getting mysteriously wrecked by a teenage god was not in their job description. L isn't taking chances though. Watari, L's caretaker guy, informs him that the FBI have entered Japan, tasked with investigating police personnel. Light doesn't know about the FBI yet, but something feels off. On his way home from school, Ryuk casually tells him that he's being followed. Light is understandably tense, but Ryuk clarifies that he doesn't actually care what happens to Light. He's only mentioning it because having a stalker is really creeping him out. Even a death god needs his personal space.
I'm not here to support you or give you my opinion, I'm just a spectator.
Later, at home, Ryuk decides to share another interesting fact about shinigami. Humans write names in the Death Note for their own reasons. Power, justice, revenge. But shinigami write names to extend their own lifespans and lengthen their life by killing humans. Shinigami can also see the name and remaining lifespan of any human that they look at. Ryuk glances at Light. He already knows exactly how much time he's got left. Then Ryuk makes an offer. He can give Light his shinigami eyes, but there is a cost. If Light takes the deal, his remaining lifespan will be cut in half. Light pauses. He already knows how powerful this ability might be. If he had it, he wouldn't need to rely on news reports or police leaks. He could kill anybody just by seeing their face. He genuinely considers the trade.
If I had that power, the Death Note would only be easier to use.
So, what'll it be, Light? Is it a deal?
So, would he give up half of his life for the power to become a true god? The following episode, Pursuit, kicks off with Light refusing Ryuk's tempting offer. He explains that he's building a perfect world without crime where he reigns as a god. If he shortens his lifespan now, it would only limit his time as ruler, and that is not an option. Being a god is cool, but being a god for a long time is much better.
You sure there's nothing else you want to tell me ahead of time? Shinigami?
No, nothing else.
However, Light is now curious about the Death Note's full capabilities. He decides to conduct a series of experiments using incarcerated criminals, testing its limits. He writes their names, specifies their actions, and watches as they follow his commands before dying. Who knew crime and science would go hand in hand?
He's playing with people's lives as if all this was just a game. It's unforgivable.
Soon, Chief Yagami and L start receiving strange reports from prisons. Criminals dying in unusual, seemingly deliberate ways. This isn't just a string of heart attacks anymore. Something is off. Unusually elaborate deaths is not a section they were hoping to add to the case file. Light, of course, is 2 steps ahead. He hacks into his dad's police files again and discovers that L suspects the deaths might be tests. More importantly, L doesn't want this information leaked to the media. Light smiles. He knows that if L is already suppressing evidence, then he's definitely feeling the pressure. But Light has a bigger issue for now. He's still being followed, and he can't kill a man without knowing his name. This is when he comes up with a plan. The next day, Light invites Yuri, a classmate, on a date to Space World. Of course, he has no real interest in her. She's just a pawn. His stalker, still following him, watches from a distance, slowly lowering his guard.
Chief Yagami's son, Light Yagami. No cause for suspicion.
They all then board a public bus, and Light Stalker sits right behind him. But then, just as things seem normal, chaos erupts as a hijacker storms onto the bus. The hijacker is Kichiro Osoreta, a drug dealer and murderer who was all over the news recently. Holding a gun to the driver's head, he demands control of the vehicle. Light, calm as ever, hands a note to Yuri, writing that he'll use a technique his father taught him to take down the hijacker. The stalker behind him, now extremely alert, leans forward and whispers for Light to stop. But Light turns the suspicion back on him and asks him if he's working with the hijacker.
Do you have any proof that you're not his accomplice? Why should we trust you?
Forced to clear his name, the stalker then flashes his FBI ID, and Light finally has what he needs. Ray Penber. Achievement unlocked. FBI agent doxed. But the trap isn't over yet. Light accidentally drops the note into the aisle, where the hijacker picks it up. He scans it. It's just a piece of paper with date plans. You'd think it's nothing important, but you'd be wrong. It's a page from the Death Note. Not exactly the love letter that he was expecting. The moment his fingers touch it, he sees Ryuk. Osoretta freezes in terror as the towering Shinigami grins and slowly walks towards him. Unable to process what he's seeing, he panics and empties his entire gun into Ryuk. Osoretta then forces the bus to stop and bolts out. But the moment he steps onto the street, a white sedan slams into him. And that, kids, is why he always looked both ways. His plan was flawless. Light sits back, unfazed, as the police arrive and questions witnesses. Ray Penber, shaken but unarmed, leaves the scene. Light resumes his date, but he's already planning Ray's death. He just needs a little bit more time. The next episode, Tactics, starts where we left things off. Light doesn't make his move immediately after the bus incident. But hey, there's no rush. He has Ray Penber's name now, and that means everything is in control. Ray has no idea of the danger that he's in. He even tells Light casually that he's on a mission, trusting him enough to confide in him. He then heads back to his hotel room, where his fiancée is waiting. Ray tells her that Light Yagami isn't Kira. He's just a normal, kind student.
You know, it's a little hard to believe that that was all a coincidence, don't you think?
Light lays low for a week, and then it's December 27th, the day that everything falls apart. Light and Ryuk enter a crowded underground shopping center. There, Light casually approaches Ray from behind.
Mr. Ray Penber, turn around and you're dead. I am Kira.
Ray freezes. Light proves his power instantly as a criminal nearby suddenly collapses, clutching his chest. Ray knows that this isn't a bluff. Kira is real, and now Kira is standing right behind him. Light hands Ray an envelope and calmly orders him to board a train. He has no choice but to comply, not exactly the scenic ride that he was hoping for.
How many FBI agents are currently in Japan?
I believe it's 4 teams, 3 agents per team for a total of 12.
Inside the train, Ray opens the envelope. It contains a page from the Death Note and clear instructions from Light. Apparently, Ray's been told to write the names of all FBI agents in Japan. He doesn't know it yet, but by following orders, he's sealing their fate. Ray writes every name down, and as he steps off the train, his heart stops. Light's perfect plan unfolds exactly as intended.
Light Yagami.
Farewell, Ray Penber.
With the death of 12 FBI agents, panic spreads. The NPA, National Police Agency, now openly questions L's leadership. The American government also pulls the FBI out of the case, unwilling to risk more lives. And Ray's fiancée, a former FBI agent herself, begins investigating Kira on her own. Out of fear, most of the Japanese police officers resign. Only 5 remain by the end of it all, not including L and Watari. At this rate, the investigation team is going to be just L talking to himself. Back at home, Chief Yagami finally reveals to his family that he is leading the Kira case. Light says that he's proud of his father, and even swears that if anything happens to him, he will capture Kira himself.
And if anything should ever happen to you, I'm going to find Kira and make sure he gets executed.
Wow, that's some Oscar-worthy acting right there. Meanwhile, in response to the growing distrust, L personally invites the remaining officers to his hotel room. This is his way of saying that he trusts all of them. That night, the police officers enter L's hotel room. Face to face for the first time, they finally see who L truly is. In the next episode, titled Unraveling, L finally meets the task force in person, and, well, he's not really what they expected. Instead of some imposing detective, they find a disheveled, messy-haired guy who walks around barefoot and grips his coffee mug like it's his life support system. L scolds the detectives for showing him their ID cards, pointing out that if he were Kira, they'd all be dead.
I knew that he needed a face to kill someone, but I don't remember any evidence that showed that he needed a name, too.
After making them turn off their phones because their ringtones are apparently the bane of his existence, and banning them from taking notes because leaks are a thing, L drops another demand. Call him Ryuzaki, just in case Kira is eavesdropping through, I don't know, supernatural Wi-Fi. As he casually sips on coffee drenched with sugar, L breaks down the case with a scary level of accuracy. Apparently, none of Kira's strategies are slipping past my man. Some of the detectives suggest that they stop revealing criminals' names in the media to cut off Kira's ability to kill. Sounds logical when you think about it, but it wasn't for L.
Kira is childish and he hates losing. But how do you...
Just what do you mean?
L argues that Kira is too childish, won't be able to resist proving his power. And he knows that, because guess what? He is also childish. But childish or not, L's deduction skills are no joke. He zeroes in on the FBI murders and pinpoints that December 19th stands out. It was the day Light figured out that the FBI was following him. L even admits that he's currently losing because his face has been exposed. But don't get it twisted. He's going to win. Meanwhile, Light realizes he made a mistake on December 19th.
A single piece of evidence is all it would take. Just one thing.
But there's no time to panic. His dad asks him to drop off some clothes at headquarters, giving Light a perfect excuse to wander into the police building. At HQ, he overhears something interesting. A woman is trying to speak to L's task force about the Kira case. She has important information, but no one from the team is around. Light, the helpful citizen, volunteers to pass the info to his father, since nobody is available, and, well, she agreed to talk to him instead. And that is when it happens. You see, this woman is not just some random civilian. She's Ray Penber's fiancée, a former FBI agent herself, and worst of all, she already suspects that Kira can kill without heart attacks. Light has spent weeks killing with surgical precision, staying 10 steps ahead of everybody. And the one person who could actually ruin him is standing right in front of him. But does Light panic? No. He smiles. Because to him, this isn't a problem, it's a gift. He's been carrying a page of the Death Note on him at all times, just in case. And now it's time to use it.
It seems there's a god on my side after all. And not just a god of death.
Ryuk, watching from the sidelines, is loving every second of this. He even laughs when the woman gives Light her name, Shokomaki. As they continue their conversation, Light plays the perfect role. The next episode, Overcast, kicks off with Light scribbling Shokomaki in the Death Note, with a cause of death that reads, suicide. How creative. At first, Light's expecting the inevitable, but the woman surprisingly seems unaffected. He squints at the page until he recalls Ryuk's loud-as-hell laugh when she first gave her name. Then it hits him. She's using an alias. Her real name is Naomi Mizora, but Light has no clue. Great. Now he's got a curveball. If she's not who she appears to be, she might just lead the police straight to him. Not exactly the kind of publicity that he wants. Seizing the moment, Ryuk chimes in with that trademark snicker and nudges Light once again to trade for the Shinigami eyes.
Would I be willing to give up half my life just so I could learn this woman's real name?
You know, the deal that let him see everybody's name and remaining lifespan at the cost of chopping his own in half. Meanwhile, L is still finding the best way to fight Kira. He hands out high-tech gadgets hidden in their clothes that sends distress signals if Kira gets too close. And he also gives each member of the task force a fake ID to protect their identity. Later, on her way to police headquarters yet again, Light intercepts Naomi. He tells her that meeting the Kira investigators in person is practically impossible. Too many risks of blowing their cover. Naomi then reveals she once worked under L and is itching to talk to him. Light then flips on his charm and tells her he's a member of the task force, inviting her to join L's investigation. If only she could provide identification. With a quick motion, Naomi hands over her driver's license containing her real government name. Once again, everything goes just as Light has planned. As the Death Note effect takes hold, Light leans in and nonchalantly announces that he is Kira.
Because I'm Kira.
Naomi's eyes go blank. She's clearly not interested in meeting with the police anymore, as she walks off to fulfill the awful conditions written in the notebook. This might seem kind of stupid, but are we supposed to root for Light? Like, is this an anti-hero situation or more like a Thanos situation where we're following the villain for most of the time? The following episode, Glare, begins with L and his task force sitting around eating matcha green tea ice cream because why not? It's not like they're in a hurry to catch a deadly killer. L examines Ray Penber's final moments, piecing together some odd details. He stayed on the train longer than necessary, left an envelope that wasn't his, and seemed to strain as he died. L then wonders, was Kira on that train with him? After that, another problem pops up. Naomi Mizora is missing. A day after her fiancé dies, she vanishes. The task force thinks maybe she just yeeted herself out of grief, but L isn't buying it. He remembers her from a previous case and suspects she got too close to Kira and paid the price. Narrowing things down, L zones in on the two families Ray Penber was investigating before he died. The Yagamis and the deputy director's household.
At this stage, I'd like to place wiretaps and surveillance cameras in both households.
His solution was hidden cameras everywhere. The others hesitate, worried about legal trouble. But Soichiro, Light's dad, goes full-on screw the law, we're catching a murderer mode and gives L the green light. Meanwhile, Light and Ryuk head home. But Ryuk's got bigger problems. Apple withdrawal. Turns out apples are basically the Shinigami version of alcohol and cigarettes, and Ryuk starts tweaking.
My body gets all twisted, I do handstands, it's not pretty!
I don't need to see that.
He begs for apples, but Light, already irritated, shuts him down. After this, Light quickly realizes that something might be off. No one is around, but his paranoia alarm goes off when his three-step security system, a piece of paper in the door, mechanical pencil lead in the hinge, and a slightly lower doorknob tells him that somebody has been inside. Is this dude seriously just a high schooler? Figuring out that he's under surveillance just like this, Light turns the situation to his advantage. He tells Ryuk that if he doesn't find all the cameras, there's going to be no more apples. And that's all it takes. Within minutes, Ryuk's got every hidden camera pegged.
By now, they must have figured out that it was someone who Ray Pember was investigating, or they wouldn't have gone to all this trouble.
Over 64 cameras in Light's room alone. Guess L isn't messing around. Later, during dinner, Light's sister flips on the TV to a romance drama starring Hideki Ryuga. Meanwhile, a news anchor claims 1,500 FBI agents have been sent to Japan.
Quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if Kira sees right through this.
Your son's clever.
It's obviously a trap, but his reaction is just a little too sharp, and L, who's watching closely, takes note. Light can't afford to slip up. He quickly devises a plan. Hiding a mini TV in a bag of potato chips, with his right hand, he takes innocent study notes. With his left, he writes names in the death note executing criminals he shouldn't be able to know about, which is just insane. Truly creating an airtight alibi. Oh, and he also eats the potato chips. Nice touch.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
The next day, he casually takes out the trash as he watches the garbage truck crush the evidence into oblivion. Ryuk sighs. That TV cost you $400. The next episode, Encounter, kicks off the day after the whole camera fiasco. Light heads out to buy Ryuk some apples because at this point, the Shinigami looks like he's in the middle of an exorcism. His body is twisted into some unholy shapes from withdrawal, and it's honestly just very embarrassing. Light deliberately stalls, toying with Ryuk before finally tossing him an apple on the walk home. Ryuk, now absolutely done with Light's mind games, threatens to just kill him with his own death note.
I wouldn't laugh if I were you.
Right.
L updates the task force on the surveillance footage, nothing explicitly suspicious, but he's still convinced that something went down. To himself, he realizes it's time for a direct approach. Instead of just watching Kira, he needs to get close to him. Close enough to make Kira admit who he is. He orders the cameras and wiretaps removed, but keeps his real plan a secret. The next day, Ryuk happily announces that the cameras are gone. Light, now free from constant surveillance, goes to take his college entrance exam stress-free. Or so he thought. Just as the test begins, the proctor calls out student 162 for sitting incorrectly. Light glances over, and there he is. It's L. Back in the Shinigami realm, Ryuk's fellow Shinigami are shocked that he still hasn't returned. Apparently, they've been peeking into the human world to see what he's up to because, it's just way too out of character for him to stay tied to a human this long. Just like that, 3 months pass, and Light aces the entrance exams, perfect scores, no big deal. He secures a spot at Toho University, something that gets Ryuk more hyped than Light himself. But there's one catch. He has to share his speech with another top-scoring student, and when he sees who it is, his stomach drops. It's him, the guy from the exam, L. Now operating under the alias Hideki Ryuga, which confuses half the students into thinking he's the famous idol of the same name. L stands on stage beside Light. The contrast between them is insane. Light looks like a polished prodigy. L looks like he just rolled out of a science lab after 3 days of no sleep. After their speeches, L casually walks up to Light and starts whispering. He knows who Light's father is. He knows about his connection to the police. Light is thrown, but he keeps his cool. Then L drops the bomb. He tells Light that he is L.
There's no way. What's he talking about? If he really was L, he'd never admit to it.
Light just says that he respects L, all while on the inside he's in full meltdown mode. Light's brain goes into overdrive. L purposely revealed himself. Why? How the hell can he kill him now? If he tries writing Hideki Ryuga in the death note, he might actually kill the idol and completely expose himself. If he somehow gets L's real name, their contact is already known to the task force. His best move right now would be to do nothing, but that just makes it worse. After the ceremony, L casually bids Light farewell and hops into a freaking limo driven by Watari. Meanwhile, Light walks home, seething. He realizes L played him into a trap. Killing this fake L would be a suicide. But at the same time, L must be doing this to every suspect. This is a game now. L might think that he's in control, but Light is ready to turn their new friendship into an opportunity to kill him. All he has to do now is find out his real name. The following episode, Doubt, begins with L deciding that it's time to push Light's buttons, and so he invites him to a game of tennis. Turns out both of them were tennis champions in their youth. L in Britain, Light in Japan, before they mysteriously quit. L suspects Kira is the type who hates losing, so if Light plays to win, it could be a red flag. But at the same time, if Light deliberately loses to avoid suspicion, that could also mean that he's Kira. With the entire school watching, Light sees an opportunity. He slams the tennis ball under L's racket, securing the win 6-4.
Just as I expected, you beat me.
It's been a while since I had to play that hard.
After the match, L casually asks Light about the Kira case and whether he'd be willing to help with the investigation. Oh, and he tells him that he is a suspect. The duo then heads to a coffee shop where L shows Light some prisoner notes containing hidden messages, all related to Shinigami. Light easily deciphers all of them thanks to his own knowledge of Shinigami, but L adds a fourth fake note for Light to decipher, which catches him off guard. Light's reaction is slightly defensive, making L even more suspicious. Before they can continue their mind games, they get urgent news. Soichiro Yagami has suffered a heart attack, and he's been rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, Light dramatically promises his father they will make sure Kira is caught and executed for making him suffer.
This doesn't seem like an act to me. Or if it is, it's too cheesy.
In response, Soichiro finally confirms to Light that L is the real L. On the way out though, L isn't done. He directly confronts Light again, still unsure if he's Kira. But Light, now playing 4D chess, offers a ridiculous bluff. He demands to be locked in a prison cell with no television for a month to prove his innocence. L, intrigued by the offer, decides to let it slide for now. Meanwhile, over at Sakura TV, the station receives anonymous tapes from somebody claiming to be Kira. The message is simple: broadcast them or everyone in the company will die. The head of the station, desperate for a headline, immediately agrees without a second thought. Things are getting interesting. In the next episode, Assault, the task force is discussing the mysterious disappearance of Naomi Mizura when Watari interrupts them with some breaking news. Kira is now dropping mixtapes on national television. Okay, not really, but an audio tape supposedly from Kira is being broadcast on Sakura TV. The team tunes in just in time to hear a scrambled voice announce that at this very second, a TV anchor will drop dead. And sure enough, boom, the guy dies live on air.
Now that you've seen proof of my powers, you should have no trouble believing that I am Kira.
Then more hosts start dropping like flies, and Kira, or at least someone claiming to be him, explains that this is all part of proving his power and gaining public support. L, being the turn this garbage off type, demands the broadcast be shut down, but the station refuses. Task Force member Hirokazu Okita, not in the mood for nonsense, rushes over to Sakura TV, but the moment he gets there, he collapses. He's dead. Other officers show up and they start dying too. Watching this in real time, the task force understandably freaks out, but L tells them to stand back unless they have a death wish.
But from what we've just seen, I'd say it's not entirely impossible that Kira can kill with only a face.
Meanwhile, Soichiro, still recovering in a hospital, watches the chaos unfold. His wife tries to turn off the TV, but he insists on keeping it on. Then, because he's built different, he gets out of bed, steals an ambulance, and literally crashes it into Sakura's TV's front doors. That's right, the dude just GTA'd his way into stopping the broadcast. He storms the control room, gun in hand, and forces them to cut the transmission. The deaths stop, and Soichiro reunites with the task force.
He needs us to reveal our faces. That way he can kill us if the police do anything suspicious.
While that's happening, Light is at home watching all this, realizing, wait a second, this wasn't me. He quickly deduces that this new Kira must have the shinigami eyes, since they had no way of knowing the officers' names. Seeing an opportunity, Light decides he needs to join the task force, aka manipulate his way into being untouchable and find the second Kira before L does. L, on the other hand, is already 70% sure this is a new Kira. Why? Because this one is way sloppier, killing random people, acting desperate. He even suggests bringing Light onto the task force despite still being very sus about him. As the episode ends, we finally meet the second Kira, Misa Amane. She's a goth idol, completely obsessed with Kira, and pulled the whole Sakura TV stunt just to get his attention. Her shinigami, Rem, warns her about being reckless, but Misa isn't worried. After all, she has the shinigami eyes, and in her mind, that makes her even more powerful than the original Kira. This next one, titled Love, begins with Light getting a surprise call from the task force. Yeah, they're now asking for his help with the Kira case. He acts shocked, but inside, he's loving every second. Finally, an official position where he can both help catch Kira and make sure that he himself never gets caught. But when he arrives at the meeting, he realizes L isn't just letting him in, he's actually testing him. The task force already knows about the second Kira, but L keeps it a secret from Light, waiting to see if he'll come to the same conclusion.
Have you come to any conclusions?
Damn, it's a test.
Light watches the new Kira's tapes and immediately gets annoyed. This Kira is reckless, immature, and way too eager for attention. L asks for his opinion, and Light, keeping his act flawless, figures out the truth. There must be a second Kira. The task force is obviously happy, thinking that this might clear him of some suspicion. To be honest, it doesn't, because L is still watching him like a hawk. To lure the second Kira into the open, L and Light then craft a fake response video. Light, being Light, tries to sneak in an open invitation to literally kill L, but L edits it out.
The part that says you're free to kill L, then I'm gonna end up dead.
Sorry, I guess I got carried away playing the part.
Then an altered message, telling Kira to simply obey, goes live. And it works instantly. Misa Amane, our love-struck goth idol, sees the message and falls head over heels. She's convinced she's finally found her Kira soulmate and rushes to respond, ignoring Rem's warnings. Days later, the task force receives her reply. She's willing to obey, but she wants to meet the real Kira in person. She also reveals some crucial info about the Shinigami eyes and the fact that Shinigami are real. Light is furious. This girl is a walking liability.
We can confirm our identities by showing our shinigami to each other.
Shinigami?
He's a liability.
L, on the other hand, falls out of his chair in pure horror. Shinigami? That weird Apple message from Kira wasn't just trolling? Soichiro wonders if the real Kira could have sent this, but Light, being Light, steers the conversation away, saying it's obviously a different person. The task force decides to air the second Kira's message, hoping to pressure the real Kira into responding. Following this, Misa finishes up a photo shoot and heads home, where she starts questioning Rem about how she even got a second death note. Rem, being oddly sentimental for a death god, tells the tragic story of Gelis, a Shinigami who fell in love with Misa before she even knew it. He spent all his time watching her, and when the day came that she was supposed to die, he panicked. A stalker was about to stab her, so Gelis broke the rules and wrote his name in the death note, saving her life. Just like that, he crumbled into dust. All that remained was his death note, which Rem took and gave to Misa.
All this time I thought it was luck, but it was a Shinigami who saved my life that day.
Jealous loved you enough to die for you.
Back at the same cafe where he first met L, Light sat quietly plotting how to deal with this second Kira problem. Meanwhile, just a few tables away, Misa is sitting there daydreaming about meeting the real Kira. Neither of them knows how close they are to finally colliding. The following episode, Confession, starts just like usual. A new journal entry pops up from the second Kira and the task force breaks it down. The message is basically a "Let's meet up Kira" note with 3 possible dates and location. A shopping district on May 22nd, somewhere else on the 24th, and a stadium on the 30th. Light and Matsuda, one of the task force's youngest but most important members, volunteer to go undercover. They don't look like cops, so it's a perfect disguise. Matsuda tags along as Light's cousin, and they hit the streets with Light's friends, pretending to be just out having fun. Light figures out that the first meeting spot is probably a club called Note Blue, but Misa is already ahead of him. She's actually at a nearby coffee shop in disguise, using her Shinigami eyes like a cheat code. The moment Light walks by, she sees his real name because, fun fact, people with a death note don't have visible lifespans.
You're the only one whose lifespan I can't see. He's Kira.
Just like that, she found her man. Later, Misa sends another message.
Ryuzaki, apparently Sakura TV has just received another message from the second Kira,
letting the task force know that she's discovered the real Kira. Elle and the team realize they need to switch tactics fast. Instead of trying to trap her, they air a TV broadcast condemning Kira, calling him a heartless murderer who kills anybody who learns his real identity. They even offer to go easy on her if she rats him out. But Misa is not about to betray her god crush. Instead, she does some light internet stalking, finding Light's address, and shows up at his house.
My name is Misa Amane. I just came by to give Light an important notebook he left at school earlier today.
Light, being naturally suspicious of literally everything, steps outside to meet her. That's when Misa hands him her death note, letting him touch it, and he sees her Shinigami, Rem. Now, Light knows for sure that she is definitely the second Kira. Thinking fast, he invites her inside, pretending that she's his girlfriend, which is also the excuse he's been using for all the secret task force business. Inside, Misa breaks it all down. She's got the Shinigami eyes, and she'll be Light's eyes if he agrees to date her. Light, of course, doesn't trust her for a second. Why would someone just give up all their power like this? But Misa assures Light that she's been very careful, covering her tracks throughout. To gain Light's trust, she even hands him her own death note, telling him he can even use it to kill her if she ever crosses him. You see, Misa worships Kira because he killed the criminals who murdered her parents. To her, he's a god, and she'll do anything for him. She starts crying, and Light, ever the smooth manipulator, hugs her to calm her down. This is when he makes the decision. He'll let her help him. More importantly, he'll pretend to be her boyfriend. Not because he likes her, obviously, but because with Misa and her Shinigami eyes in his pocket, he might finally have a way to kill L. The following episode, Friend, kicks off with Light almost having complete control over Misa. Almost being the key word here. Why? Because Misa wants Light's unconditional love and she wants him to show it as well. But Light, the total Sigma that he is, responds by threatening to kill her if she doesn't obey. This doesn't actually deter Misa, but it does piss off Rem, who threatens Light. She says that if anything happens to Misa, she'll write his name in the death note.
But if you were to use your death note to save her, wouldn't that mean you'd die too?
Light is forced into a nightmare scenario. He has to keep Misa alive, meet her regularly, and act like he actually cares. And just to make things worse, he finds out that she's a famous model, meaning sneaking around just got a lot harder. Back with the task force, a new audio tape from the second Kira is about to hit the airwaves.
We just received a new video message from the second Kira.
Huh? Wow, that didn't take long.
And L doesn't like what he hears. The message declares complete loyalty to Kira, but there's something off. There's no demand for L to reveal his face. That would have made it very easy for the second Kira to get rid of his biggest problem. The only reason he wouldn't ask for L's face is if the first Kira already knows it. L starts connecting the dots and realizes something huge. Kira and the second Kira must have met. And if that's the case, Kira is probably using the second one. That means the suspect list just got a lot smaller. And guess who's still at the top? Light. Light pushes back, trying to throw off suspicion, but the whole Light is Kira debate is starting to get to his father, who's visibly shaken. L casually drops an emotional bomb, calling Light his first friend.
I feel you're the first friend that I have ever had.
Whoa. Were we supposed to get all sentimental here? But the moment passes fast, because while Light is distracted, L secretly orders Mogi, one of the task force most reserved members, to start tracking his movements. Later, Misa shows up uninvited to see Light again, which does nothing to help his situation.
I can't afford to be seen with Misa.
Light!
He's annoyed. Mogi is getting more suspicious, and Rem is still looming over him like a personal Grim Reaper. Realizing that Rem's devotion to Misa runs deep, Light plays his final card. If she truly wants Misa happy and safe, she should kill L. And to Light's delight, Rem agrees. In the next episode, Wager, Light has got a golden opportunity. Rem is ready to kill L on command, but Light's got to be very smart. If L drops dead tomorrow, suspicion lands right on him. So he tells Rem to wait for a signal. In the meantime, he asks Misa for her number, but not her main one, because, police. She hands over one of her 3 phones because of course she has extras, and Light makes it clear that only he will call her. Misa is still in full fangirl mode, tries to squeeze some romance out of this deal. Light kisses her just to shut her up, and it works.
Wow.
She leaves in a daze while Ryuk is absolutely losing it in the background. Meanwhile, L basically tells the task force that if he dies soon, it's Light. He's the only suspect who's seen him recently. The next day, L casually interrupts Light's date with Kiyomi at university, just to remind him again that if he dies soon, it's basically checkmate. Then he's like, anyway, let's hang out. So Light and L go out together because apparently that's what arch rivals do. Just as Light is strategizing, Misa shows up fresh from a photo shoot. Terrible timing, oh my god.
Misa, you idiot!
Light is freaking out, but Misa is thriving. She sees L's real name with her shinigami eyes, which means Light is this close to winning. But then, plot twist, L laughs. Like, actual joy. Turns out he's a Misa fan, and so is half the university, who immediately swarms her. In the chaos, L straight up gropes Misa, then acts like it was somebody else. Okay. Light can't even process what's happening before Misa gets dragged off by her handlers. Light excuses himself and calls her secret phone, except L has it. He just straight up stole it. Light tries playing it cool, but then L's own phone rings. After answering, L says Misa has been arrested. They matched her DNA from the Sakura TV tapes and used her agent's drug possession as an excuse to bring her into questioning.
I was careless. The videos. I should have destroyed all the evidence before the police had a chance to go through it.
Misa is then taken to an underground interrogation room where she's blindfolded, wrapped in restraints, and strapped to a vertical cot. The task force is horrified, but they let it happen. 3 days pass, and Misa, completely broken, begs L to kill her. Except she's not talking to L. She's talking to Rem.
You won't kill me!
Stop her! Watari, don't let her bite her tongue!
Misa tries to bite her own tongue off, but Watari gags her just in time. Seeing no other choice, Rem forces Misa to forfeit her Death Note, erasing all her memories of Kira, the Death Note, and Shinigami. The only thing she keeps? Her love for Light. As her mind resets, she sheds a single tear. Rem, devastated, brushes a strand of hair from her face. Something that L notices. Later, Rem spills everything to Light and Ryuk. Light plays it off like he totally expected this, and tells Rem that he's a plan. But Rem isn't buying his confidence. If he doesn't free Misa, she's going to kill him. Light, totally unfazed, just smirks. He already sees the way out. Then he turns to Ryuk and says goodbye. The next episode, Decision, starts in the middle of a misty forest. Light buries Ryuk's Death Note. He then gives Rem's Death Note back to her, officially giving up its ownership. But since he still technically owns Ryuk's notebook, his memories stay intact. Before Rem leaves, Light drops a failsafe to Ryuk. If he ever says, get rid of it, that means he's giving up the Death Note for real. Misa wakes up in captivity, with no memory of Kira, the Death Note, or even why she's there.
Mr. Stalker, this is illegal. You have to stop. Okay, come on, please.
She assumes that she's been kidnapped by a stalker. Instead of freaking out, she tries flirting with her kidnapper in an attempt to get out. The task force is confused. Mogi, the officer who arrested her, made it very clear that she was being detained as the second Kira, and yet she didn't even resist. L interrogates Misa, but she's still totally ignorant. She doesn't know what Kira is, why she's being held, or why she would have been sending messages to Kira. She does, however, openly admit that Light is her boyfriend. L takes note of that little detail. Then Light arrives and hits L with a wild claim.
I could be Kira.
He says it all out. He was investigated by Ray Penber. He was at Aoyama the night the second Kira was supposed to meet Kira. He knows Misa Amane, and sometimes, deep down, he wishes certain people would die. But he just doesn't remember any of it, just like Misa. To prove his innocence, he suggests solitary confinement. Soichiro violently opposes this, but L agrees.
Let's do it.
After just one day of Light's imprisonment, even Soichiro is having doubts. He decides to lock himself up too, fearing that his emotions might interfere with the investigation. L allows it, but gives him full outside communication. Now, with Light in a cell, something interesting happens. Kira stops killing. This should have been enough proof for L, but instead it only raises his suspicion. Meanwhile, Ryuk is going through full-on apple withdrawal. He's shaking, twitching, and losing his mind from the lack of apples. 1 week in, Light decides that it's time. He gives up ownership of the Death Note.
Get rid of it. Huh?
Instantly, Ryuk vanishes, and with him all of Light's memories of being Kira. His entire demeanor shifts. He's confused, scared, and has zero idea why he's in a cell. L is watching this very carefully. Then, just like that, Kira starts killing again. The deaths resume, perfectly making for the 2-week gap. L notices this immediately, but instead of telling Light, he keeps it to himself, because now things just got way more complicated. Episode 17, Execution, starts somewhere in a dimly lit office. Rem is having a little business meeting with a mysterious businessman. Turns out this guy is the new Kira, and Rem is strategically letting him run wild in order to get Misa free. The only rule is that he can do whatever he wants with the Death Note as long as he keeps killing criminals. The man, grinning with his silver teeth, calls it good business. Rem silently watches, and she's kind of disgusted. It's been 50 days since Light, Misa, and Soichiro locked themselves up, and it is showing. All three of them look exhausted, and way past their breaking point. Aizawa, who is probably the task force's second most intelligent member after L, is finally fed up, starts questioning L's logic. If Light could still kill people while imprisoned, why would he have ever needed to take out L? Matsuda agrees.
It's time to start looking for the real Kira.
L just doesn't want to admit that he's wrong. L, shockingly, decides to budge. But before letting them go, he needs Soichiro's help. Whatever he tells him horrifies Soichiro, but he agrees. The next day, Soichiro removes Misa from her cell. Misa, with her memory still scrambled, immediately assumes that he's the stalker. Soichiro sighs and tells her that he's a cop, and suddenly bits and pieces of her memory start coming back. After this, Aizawa pulls up with a very confused Light, and the three drive off. Then Soichiro reveals the truth. They're not going home. Instead, they're heading to an execution site.
I am afraid you two are being taken to your execution.
The killings never stopped, which means the UN and Japanese government have unanimously decided that Light and Misa are guilty and they must be executed. No trial. No chance to prove their innocence. They're just done. Light and Misa are freaking out, but Soichiro stays completely cold. The car speeds onto a bridge, but instead of crossing, Soichiro suddenly swerves, drives down a ramp, and stops beneath it. Then, in one swift motion, he pulls out a gun, aims it at Light's head.
Please stop, Dad! I'm not Kira! If I die here, Kira wins! Can't you see?
And pulls the trigger. Nothing happens. Turns out the gun was loaded with blanks. It was all a test. L and Soichiro wanted to see if either Light or Misa would try to kill him if they thought they were about to die. They didn't, which means they're not Kira. L officially clears their names. However, Misa's DNA was still on the Sakura TV tapes. L isn't letting that go. Misa gets her freedom back-ish, but she's now under 24/7 surveillance and will be followed everywhere by Matsuda, disguised as her new agent, Taro Matsui. As for Light, he's still kinda not off the hook. For L, at least. Back at headquarters, L pulls a wild move. He handcuffs himself to Light.
Are you sure this is necessary, Ryuzaki?
This is as difficult for me as it is for you.
Yeah, they are now physically attached at all times. Light hates this. L also hates this, but L says this way if Light is Kira, he'll be watching him every second of the day. Misa, meanwhile, is driving everybody insane. She keeps begging to see Light, and at one point, Aizawa literally shoves her out of the room. L, still suspicious, asks Light to get closer to Misa to extract information. Light refuses. Manipulating an innocent person? He would never do that. L, hearing this, gets an idea. What if Light really was Kira, but he was being controlled by somebody else? He now fully suspects that there's a third party involved. That night, L gathers the investigation team and announces they're moving headquarters to a state-of-the-art facility in the city. It's high-tech, secure, and will bring them closer to Kira than ever before. Meanwhile, at Yotsuba Industries, 8 businessmen are literally plotting murders over a board meeting. Every kill is carefully planned to maximize company profit. Rem, watching from the shadows, is disgusted. Humans, she mutters, truly are the worst. The next episode, Ally kicks off bright and early at the new Task Force HQ. Aizawa shows up for work and immediately gets hit with a security check. He even has to strip down to his underwear. By the time he finally makes it inside, bro looks pretty done with life. Soichiro, noticing a bandage on his forehead, asks what happened. Turns out Aizawa got into a fight with his wife. She's not happy about how much time he's spending at work. Meanwhile, inside the surveillance room, Misa is still Misa. She and Light are stuck under watch while Elle sits there eating cake like a depressed teenager.
Fine then, I'll give you the piece of cake as long as you agree to leave me and Light alone.
Misa tries desperately to get some privacy for a date with Light, but Elle shuts that down immediately and casually takes her cake instead. Light is totally fed up and asks Elle why he's acting like he just lost his life savings. Elle says it's because Light isn't Kira. All of this was for nothing. He's wrong, of course, but he's not totally letting go. He still thinks Light and Misa were Kira at some point, that someone else is now in control. He even suggests that Kira's power passes from person to person, which would make catching him completely pointless. Light, hearing all of this, punches Elle in the face. Oh my god. And this immediately escalates into a full-blown fistfight. The two slam into a wall, knock over a plant, and Elle kicks Light in the face so hard that a couch falls over. Misa, understandably, is just staring in horror. Matsuda, tired of these two grown men acting like children, breaks up the fight by showing them an article about Misa. They pause to glance at it, then go right back to calling Matsuda stupid.
Matsuda's acting stupid again.
Well, that is his specialty.
Later, Light starts noticing a pattern in Kira's recent kills. Several CEOs of big companies have been dying, tanking their stock prices, except for Yotsuba. Bingo. Kira must be helping Yotsuba dominate the market. Elle takes it even further. He thinks the criminal executions are just a cover-up to make Kira's corporate hits look less suspicious. Meanwhile, over at Yotsuba HQ, the 8 businessmen from last episode are casually discussing murder strategies. One of them, Hattori, wonders why they're only using heart attacks. Another guy explains that one of the targets was on vacation and dying a suspiciously specific way would have raised red flags. Back at HQ, Matsuda and Aizawa tell Soichiro and Mogi what they found, but Soichiro looks dead inside. They also find out that politicians are being bribed by Kira, and if any police officer tries to investigate, they simply die. This puts the task force in a lose-lose situation. They have a few choices. Either quit the police force entirely and chase Kira as civilians, which was Soichiro and Mogi's plan, or they could stay in the police, but risk getting fired. Or they could just give up the Kira case and go back to their normal jobs. Elle suggests that they go back to the NPA.
I think the rest of you should remain as police officers.
That way, they can still gather intel without putting themselves on a hit list. But he leaves the decision up to them. Soichiro and Mogi are sticking with Elle. Matsuda is in too. But Aizawa isn't so sure. He needs the money for his family, but he also doesn't want to dishonor Ukita's memory. Then Watari suddenly calls in. Turns out Elle already set up a safety net. If anybody loses their job, he'll personally fund them.
No way! So all this time we had nothing to worry about? I can't believe you did that! There you go, Aizawa! Isn't that great news?
Matsuda thinks that this is great. Aizawa, however, sees right through it. This isn't generosity, it's a loyalty test. Realizing that Elle still doesn't trust them, Aizawa completely snaps. Furious, he quits on the spot, declaring that he hates Elle before storming out. Meanwhile, the task force notices another pattern. Kira's corporate murders always happen between Friday night and Saturday afternoon. This means they can narrow down their suspects by focusing on who's active during that time. Mogi then gathers documents on all 300,000 Yotsuba employees. Matsuda, seeing how little he's contributing, finally asks if he can do anything else besides being Misa's fake manager.
So you really want to be useful?
Yes!
Elle tells him to go get coffee for 2 guests, Iber and Weddy. Iber is a world-class con man, and Weddy is a master thief. Elle plans to use them for undercover missions and break-ins. The team is understandably skeptical about hiring literal criminals, but Elle insists that it is necessary, since neither of them exist in any official database. Kira is unable to kill them. Meanwhile, Aizawa sits alone on a park bench, trying to figure out if he made the right choice. Then his wife and daughter randomly walk by. He tells them that he's on temporary leave. For the first time in what feels like forever, he realizes that he can actually be with his family. And right there, in the middle of the park, he starts crying. His family is totally confused by this because they have no idea what he's been through. In episode 19, Matsuda, the man the episode is named after, is having a crisis. He feels useless in the task force, since everybody's out here solving cases and he's stuck babysitting Misa as her fake manager. Not exactly the gig that he signed up for. While Misa's off shooting a movie, Matsuda spots Yotsuba's HQ in the distance. Instead of minding his business, he decides, screw it, I'm gonna sneak in there myself. Back at Task Force HQ, Light is deep in thought, trying to figure out how Kira kills if all he needs is a name and a face.
Surely I wouldn't do that. No, I'm thinking too hard about this. There's no way anyone could murder so many people and not have any memory of it.
Elle notices Light's little daydreaming session and tries to bribe him back to Earth with some cake, which Light refuses. Big mistake. That cake looks fire. Then Watari calls in with an update. Apparently, Yotsuba wants L's real identity through the world's second best detective. Although L casually reveals he is also the second and third best detective.
3 of the greatest detectives in the world. L, Coyle, and Deneuve. They're all actually me.
Man's a one-man leaderboard. So yeah, the task force now knows Yotsuba's shady as hell. Back with Matsuda, he actually manages to sneak past security and make it up to the 19th floor. There, he hears Yotsuba's top dogs chatting about their weekend meetings and, oh yeah, murdering people via Kira. But just when he's about to bounce, Matsuda does what Matsuda does best. He trips and crashes right into their meeting. Nice job, buddy. Thinking quick, he uses his fake ID from Watari and pretends to be Misa's manager, pitching her for a Yotsuba ad campaign. The execs are suspicious, so they lock him in another room and debate if they should kill him. L, watching all this unfold, calls Matsuda pretending to be his drinking buddy, and realizes that they've got to pull a fast one. The one solution that they can think of is faking Matsuda's death before he gets killed by the new Kira for snooping around.
What should we do?
The main question is whether he heard anything.
If it's a possibility, no matter how small, we'll have to kill him.
Then Misa shows up and drags everybody back to her place for a wild party, complete with models and booze. Matsuda sneaks away, calls L and gets the plan. Next thing you know, Matsuda's teetering on a balcony beam, pretending to be drunk and doing handstands. He slips, falls, and thanks to Soichiro's perfectly placed mattress, lands safely. To sell it, Soichiro chucks a heavy bag over the edge, making it look like Matsuda splatted on the pavement. Iber, disguised as Matsuda's corpse, seals the deal. Yotsuba's execs freak out, thinking Kira doesn't need to bother killing Matsuda now. Fast forward 2 weeks, and Matsuda is officially dead. Yotsuba's back at their shady meetings, but one guy, Hattori, starts sweating and wants to back out from all this criminal stuff.
I just don't want to get wrapped up in this and end up in jail!
I think you're going to end up dead tomorrow.
The rest of the crew gives him that cold, yeah, you're definitely gonna die now stare. So he awkwardly tries to laugh it off. But everybody knows that it's game over for him. Meanwhile, the task force uses all the intel Matsuda gathered to bug Yotsuba's meeting room. But Soichiro notices that something is off. They're only seeing 7 guys, not 8. Meaning one of them's already out of the picture. We kick off the next episode makeshift in a Yotsuba boardroom that's been wired up with cameras and mics by the task force. They're glued to the screens, watching these corporate creeps openly chat about who they're gonna kill next, like it's a normal Tuesday. And surprise, surprise, they don't even blink when they find out Hattori's dead.
I think we all understand what Hattori's death means for the rest of us. Let's not take it lightly.
Reiji Namakawa, the vice president of sales at Yotsuba, is just sitting there like, whatever. Anyway, who's next? Higuchi, one of the senior-most members of the board, starts whining that Coyle, aka Iber, undercover, hasn't outed L yet, which is messing up their whole plan. Ui mentions Coyle noticed most of the deaths happen over the weekend, so now the group wants to spread the kills out evenly, to keep things tidy. The task force obviously wants to stop this, but L pulls the old "we need proof" card and says they have to sit back and let people die to make sure Yotsuba's guilty. Soichiro wants to blow the whistle ASAP, but L tells him that that's just gonna ruin everything. Light being Light cooks up his own scheme. He grabs the phone, pretends to be L, and calls Namakawa directly. Basically, he blackmails him, tells him there are wiretaps in the room and that if he convinces the group to stop killing, everyone except Kira will get a free pass.
No, I'll be dead if Kira manages to find out. What should I do?
Oh, and if Namakawa rats about the call, boom, instant arrest. Namakawa, slick as ever, convinces the group to hold off on the murders for a month. He says it's to give Coyle time to expose L, but really it's just Light's plan at work. Everybody agrees, probably thinking, cool, 1 month break, no big deal. The task force is hyped. They figure Namakawa could be their inside man, and L even gives Light props for the plan. Impressed by all of this, L says something big. If he dies, Light should take over as L. He's basically offering Light his job.
I honestly believe you could take this on.
Light immediately senses there's a catch, because of course, he realizes L is testing him. Say yes, and it looks like Light's Kira gunning for control. Say no, and maybe Light's memory really is wiped like they suspected. Light gives a vague answer, but L isn't buying it. Light then literally spins L around in his chair and asks if L thinks that he's Kira. And L, completely stone cold, is like, yeah, I always have.
He thinks it was a plan. To pass on the power and arrange for it to come back to me once I've been cleared.
It almost turns into another fistfight until Matsuda jumps in like the mom breaking up 2 kids. Soichiro suggests they arrest the Yotsuba guys now, but L reminds him, if Kira's not in that room, they'll all just get smoked. He says fine, arrest them. Just don't drag him into it. He's still doing his own digging. Next up, L drags Light to Misa's apartment, and he wastes no time, gets right in Misa's face and asks, who do you love more, Light or Kira? Misa, no hesitation, says Light. Then L asks her to join the investigation. Light's like, are you serious? That's way too risky. But Elle explains the plan. Iber will tell Yotsuba that Misa might be the second Kira and she's coming in. That'll make Yotsuba super interested in her, giving Misa a chance to snoop around. Misa's totally in. Light's freaking out, worried Kira will manipulate her. Elle coolly says if Kira gets Misa, well, Light's gonna go down too. Misa, absolutely captivated, suddenly takes back any shade she threw at Elle, and even plants a kiss on his cheek.
Let's all be friends together!
In the meantime, Soichiro's stressing out because even if they collect dirt on the Yotsuba guys, catching all 7 at once? That's gonna be hard. In episode 21, Performance, Yotsuba kicks things off by holding another one of their Who Should We Kill Today meetings. The group discusses Coil's report on Misa and they want to bring her in for an interview. Coil/Iber slyly suggests making her their spokesperson to turn her against Elle. Meanwhile, over in Kira Land, Higuchi, aka Third Kira, is just bored. Being Kira isn't as glamorous as he thought, and now he's convinced that Misa must be the second Kira. He's also come up with a plan. Marry Misa, use her and get all the power and cash that he wants.
Once we're married, I'll just invest a large lump sum in her life insurance.
Real charmer, this guy. Rem, watching all of this, is disgusted, and secretly rips off a piece of the death note for later. Oh yeah, she's got some plans. Then it's time for Misa's big job interview. Poor Mogi's pretending to be her new manager, and Misa's treating him like Matsuda 2.0, wanting him to act all hyper and polite. Iber sits down to run the interview, but obviously it's all a front. He starts grilling Misa about Kira, Tokyo, and her meeting with Elle, trying to draw out any useful information. Higuchi eventually feels bad about the questioning and runs off to the bathroom. Misa follows soon after. In the bathroom, bam, Rem appears and touches Misa with a piece of the death note. Misa doesn't get her memories back, but now she can see Rem. And Rem wastes no time. She tells her everything. She tells Misa she used to be the second Kira. Light was Kira too, and yeah, there's a magical murder notebook involved. After double checking that Misa's still head over heels for Light, spoiler, she is, Rem decides she's gonna help Misa expose the third Kira. She points to Higuchi when Misa walks back in. Yeah, the same creep who hit on her back during Matsuda's party crash. That's your man. Higuchi equals Kira. While all that's happening, Light's back at HQ looking at the recent murders. He notices something weird. Unlike the first Kira himself, he only took out hardcore criminals. This new Kira is killing anybody with a rap sheet, no matter how minor. For a split second, Light low-key admires how the original Kira handled things.
It's disturbingly close to my ideals.
Before quickly backtracking so that nobody notices, Misa and Mogi return to HQ, and Misa casually drops the fact that 3 of the Yotsuba dudes already asked her out. She's got a plan. She'll go on dates with them and scope them out. Light naturally tells her not to go too hard, but that just makes Elle suspicious, thinking Light's hiding something. Later, Misa and Mogi head to a hospital. Well, Misa claims she needs a restroom break, but surprise, she's actually swapping outfits with her friend Nori, trading her civilian clothes for a nurse outfit. Mogi, bless him, immediately clocks what's up, but Misa's already slipping away to meet Higuchi, in his flashy red sports car, still dressed as a nurse. On their date, Higuchi tries to wine and dine her, but Misa isn't really here for romance. She tells him if he tries anything shady, she's just gonna kill him, since she's the second Kira.
Are you planning to take me somewhere and do pervy things to me? Well, even if you are, that's okay. I'll be fine, since I can kill people.
Higuchi's brain short-circuits a little bit. How does she know? He decides to test her, and confesses that he's Kira, then proposes to her like it's no big deal. Misa plays it cool, saying that they should both prove that they're Kira before anything else. Higuchi wants her to go first, so he stops on a bridge and gives her the name of a corrupt exec. Misa starts pretending to write it down, but Rem's actually the one doing the dirty work behind the scenes. The exec dies, and Higuchi is convinced. He then immediately tries to wife her up on the spot, but Misa pushes back, saying he needs to prove himself too. Like maybe stop killing people on TV for a little bit. When Misa gets back to HQ, she reveals that she secretly recorded the entire conversation on her phone.
Based on what he said, Higuchi is Kira!
Clear proof that Higuchi is Kira. Everybody's hyped, except for Elle. Light notices Elle just staring off dead serious, clearly still suspicious about something. The next episode, Guidance, kicks off and everybody's got their eyes on one guy, Higuchi. Elle is basically 90% sure that this dude is the Yotsuba Kira, but he wants to be absolutely certain before making a move. He's also wondering how Misa managed to get Higuchi's attention in the first place. Like, how far did she really go? But the big thing is, if criminals suddenly stop dying, they've nailed the guy.
I knew Amane would do almost anything for Light, but to think that she would actually go this far?
Light grills Misa about how she tricked Higuchi. She keeps her story mostly clean, conveniently leaving out the part where Rem helped her. Light's not thrilled, but whatever. They've got bigger fish to fry. Elle wants to slap cameras all over Higuchi's place, but Weddy, their professional cat burglar, is like, no. The guy's house is like Fort Knox. So instead, she bugs all 6 of his fancy cars. Now, L asks Light and Misa if they've ever killed anybody.
Do you remember killing anyone?
Both immediately deny it, and L's like, cool, but here's my theory. Light was Kira, forgot everything, and now Higuchi has the power. Light is sitting there like, well, if I was Kira, obviously it was my genius idea to give up the power. Classic Light move. L's buying it, but he's determined to trap Higuchi before he can pass the death note to anybody else. So here's the wild plan. Sakura TV is going to air a 3-hour Kira special. They have somebody claim that they know who Kira is, aka Matsuda, but blurred out of course.
If Higuchi can kill by simply looking at someone's face, just like the second Kira, Matsuda will die.
The second Higuchi feels threatened, he'll try to kill live on air, exposing how he kills. Simple, clean, totally safe. Except for Matsuda, who's basically bait. Seeing this, the Yotsuba boys start scheming. Namikawa meets up with some of them, and they all pretty much figure out Higuchi's the shady one. They're done with the Kira nonsense and want out, as long as they don't get killed. Namikawa secretly teams up with Light, who's still pretending to be L, and offers immunity if they help take Higuchi down. Deal done. Meanwhile, Higuchi is chilling, sipping wine, talking to himself, and marrying Misa, and turning CEO by eye-murdering his way to the top. Then Namikawa calls and tells him to tune into the Kira special. Higuchi sees blurred-out Matsuda talking about inside Yotsuba info, and starts sweating bullets. As soon as Matsuda's face accidentally, on purpose, gets revealed, Higuchi panics. He tries calling everybody, Misa, Mito, even random production dudes, desperately trying to figure out Matsuda's real name. But everybody's either stonewalling him or playing dumb. Realizing that he's cornered, Higuchi snaps, grabs a gun, some Death Note paper, and speeds off in his car.
I've come this far, I won't let them stop me. I'm not giving up until I have everything.
Weddy's tailing him, Light sitting back like just as planned, and Higuchi, yeah, he is spiraling. Things are about to pop off. In the next episode, Frenzy, Higuchi is fully losing it. He whips out the Death Note and scribbles down Matsuda's fake name, Matsui, thinking that he's got this in the bag. Spoiler alert, nothing happens. And so he starts panicking. What is the next logical step? Oh right, make a shady deal with Rem for the Shinigami eyes. Because it's not like he's going to be living long if that fails anyway. Armed with the eyes now, Higuchi's out driving when a cop pulls him over. Bad move. Higuchi kills the officer on the spot, which basically confirms to L and the crew, yeah, this guy's rocking second Kira powers.
Everyone, it's too dangerous to allow further action by Higuchi. Let's bring him in. I believe he has the same powers as the second Kira.
L and Light jump into a helicopter, but not before L casually handcuffs Misa to a chair to keep her from doing anything reckless. No trust whatsoever. L's like, alright, enough of this nonsense, let's arrest him now. But Higuchi isn't done yet. He heads over to Yotsuba's building, hoping to check the security tapes to finally learn Matsuda's real name. Too bad for him, they already swapped out the footage. Back at Sakura TV, Soichiro is running things like a pro. He replaces Matsuda and the interviewer with mannequins. Yeah, mannequins. And plays a pre-recorded interview to keep up the ruse. Meanwhile, Mogi, Weddy, and Iber show up ready to back up the operation. Higuchi gets there realizing that he's being played and panics. The task force tries to cuff him, but he's not going down that easy. He pulls a gun, fires at Weddy, and Soichiro literally jumps in front of her like a total hero, taking a bullet in the arm. Iber fires back but misses, and Higuchi bolts out. But now the net is closing in, because Bro hit a police roadblock, boxed in. From up in the sky, L's helicopter is tracking him. Watari calmly pulls out a rifle like a total sniper grandpa and shoots out Higuchi's front tire. Cornered, no way out, Higuchi pulls out his revolver, clearly ready to end it. But Watari's aim is on point, and BAM! He shoots the gun right out of his hand before he can pull the trigger. Light watches the whole thing, cool as ever, and says, "It's over. Yeah, buddy. The game is up." In episode 24, Revival, Higuchi's officially done. The task force swoops in, arrests him on suspicion of being Kira, and slaps a helmet on him so L can micromanage the whole thing. L immediately asks him how he kills people. Higuchi, clearly defeated, confesses something along the lines of, "I've got a magic notebook that kills people."
If I write someone's name in it while thinking of their face, that person dies.
Sounds insane, but he's got nothing left to lose. Soichiro digs through Higuchi's car and boom, he finds the Death Note. The moment he touches it, he sees Rem staring right at him. Soichiro's face basically says, "Nope." Mogi touches it next. Same horrified reaction. Yeah, Shinigami are real. L finally gets his hands on the notebook, and you can see the gears turning. All those weird references to a notebook, Misa and the notebook exchange in Aoyama, it all clicks. L figures out that there's another Death Note floating around out there. And right then, Light casually takes the notebook from L. Cue the big reveal. The second Light touches it, all of his Kira memories come flooding back. Turns out Light planned everything. Higuchi's notebook. It's actually Light's original one. Back when he was locked up, Light forfeited ownership and had Rem hold on to it. Oh, and the cherry on top? Before he gave it back, he had Ryuk sneak in 2 fake rules. Use the notebook at least once every 13 days, or die. Destroy the notebook, and anyone and everyone who ever dared to touch it will die. It's complete BS, but it's genius because now no one wants to tamper with the thing at all. While everybody is focused on Higuchi, Light coolly flips open his watch.
Got it. Just as I expected. I'm wearing this watch. Old habits die hard.
Yeah, there's a hidden Death Note scrap in there, and writes down Higuchi's name right in front of L. Higuchi dies, and Light puts on his best shocked face, pretending it's a shame that they can't interrogate him. Inside, though, he's already thinking, L, you're next. Wow. The task force reviews the notebook's rules, and surprised, they're stuck. That fake 13-day rule makes it look like Light and Misa couldn't possibly be Kira. L isn't convinced, though. He keeps side-eyeing those oddly specific rules and starts grilling Rem. Are all the notebooks the same? Are there more? Rem plays it cool, not exactly lying, but not spelling anything important.
There are many notebooks in the Shinigami realm, but they all have the same rules.
Everyone else figures, well, guess we're letting Light and Misa go. L hates it, but he has no choice. Light, he's got the handcuffs off, and he's now back in full control. But Light is not done scheming. His first move, he tells Misa to dig up the other Death Note he hid months ago. She does, touches it, and all of her memories of being the second Kira snap back. Everything is going according to Light's plan. Meanwhile, Ryuk comes back from the Shinigami realm, and Misa wastes no time. She makes another deal for the Shinigami eyes, cutting her lifespan in half again. Misa and Ryuk roll back to headquarters, reunite with Light and Rem.
Misa's lifespan, it's been halved again. No, did she make the eye deal with Ryuk?
Watching all of this, realizes Misa's lifespan just took another dive. Light, ever the puppet master, has Misa ready to be his queen of the new world. But quietly, L is watching everything. And you know that he's cooking up something big. We kick off with a flashback. A young, quiet boy gets whisked away to Whammy's house, the orphanage where geniuses get molded. This kid is L. Watari's the one who brought him there, setting him on the path to become the world's greatest detective. Back in the present, L is off. He walks into Watari's room, stares at him, yet doesn't say a word. Everything about L screams that he knows something bad is coming, and yeah, it's coming fast. At Task Force HQ, L is still grilling Rem about Death Notes, but Rem's tight-lipped, keeping her answers vague to protect Light and Misa. Still, L's starting to piece it together. Something feels off.
Right now, I'm in no position to continue punishing criminals. That's why I need you to punish them for me.
Meanwhile, Misa's back on her Kira grind, writing down names, humming a creepy little tune, rocking a maid outfit like it's no big deal. Light's the one who set her back in motion, but L's radar is pinging hard now. He's suspicious of Misa, but Light keeps denying any connection.
These killings began as soon as Misa was free, didn't they?
Ryuzaki, you still going on about that? She has nothing to do with this.
L's mind won't let it go, though. He wonders if just a piece of the notebook could work like the whole thing. Those fake rules are still protecting Light and Misa, but it's not adding up. Overhearing all of this, Rem is starting to panic. Why would Light drag Misa into danger again? And then it clicks. Light is baiting her. If Rem kills L to protect Misa, she's automatically dead. It's exactly what Light wants.
What are you gonna do, Rem? You may be a Shinigami, but you can't hide the fact that you care for Misa.
Later, Light finds L standing alone on the HQ rooftop, soaking wet, totally lost in thought. L opens up for once. He talks about how lonely he feels, how everybody lies. It's weirdly honest.
I hear the bell. The bell? Yes.
They then head back inside, where L reveals he actually wants to test that suspicious 13-day rule. He plans to get a death row inmate to write in the death note, see if it checks out. Rem can't take it. She knows exactly what's going to happen if that test goes through. Misa is done, so she has to make her move. First, Watari is gone. In his last breath, he wipes HQ's hard drives clean. Next second, dead. L watches the screen, stunned, before realizing something is very wrong.
I told Watari to make sure that he should erase all information in the event that something were to happen to him.
His eyes go wide. Then just like that, L collapses backward into Light's arms. His name has been written. As he looks up at Light, Light flashes that devilish grin. L's last moment is quiet. He knows that he was right all along. And then, he's gone. With L out of the picture, Rem crumbles to dust, literally dying because she saved Misa. Light, being Light, snatches up Rem's notebook before anybody notices. To the task force, Light puts on his best serious face, claiming that he'll take revenge.
I swear I'll avenge Ryuzaki's death. We're going to solve this case.
But inside, he's reveling. No more obstacles. No more L. Light declares himself the god of the new world, and honestly, it feels like he's won. In the following episode, Renewal. 10 days have passed since L passed, and the gang is just glad none of them have died in the meantime. The task force digs a little deeper into Watari's background. Turns out he wasn't just L's handler, he was an inventor who used his money to fund orphanages all over the world. Wow, that's a good guy. Now without L or Watari, the task force needs a leader. Aizawa, Matsuda, Mogi, or Soichiro all agree. Light should be the new L.
Just as I thought. It's too simple. It's no fun without Ryuzaki here.
Light, ever humble, agrees, but claims he'll be way more careful than L ever was. He even pitches moving operations to his own one-bedroom apartment. Soichiro's cool with it. Matsuda loves the idea, and that apartment becomes their new HQ. Light then even says he can use tech to fake L and Watari's voices to keep the police in the loop. The team is all in. But there's one sticky issue. What to do with this death note? They agree someone has to hide it without telling anybody where.
Please, Chief. It's gotta be you.
Yeah, Chief. We can count on you.
Soichiro steps up to take the responsibility. Things are oddly upbeat for the team. They're hopeful they can finally catch Kira. Then we cut to a cozy cafe date. Light tells Misa he's got his own apartment now, casually dropping the "do you want to move in?" question. Of course, Misa's over the moon and immediately says yes. Later that night, Light's back at the now empty task force HQ rooftop chatting with Ryuk. Ryuk's wondering if things are about to get boring now that L is dead. Light shuts that down quick. No way. Things are just getting started. He announces it's time to build his new world and jumps right back into Kira mode, offing criminals, wiping out Iber, Weddy, and all of the Yotsuba execs like it's nothing. And there's a flash forward. We learn that by April 2012, Light is 23. He's officially joined the National Police and Kira's kill count is skyrocketing. Support for Kira is everywhere.
The world was heading into a dark age in which Kira's will was the only law.
People are worshipping him, in fact. The world's tilting toward a place where Kira is the law. And the episode then closes on a quiet scene in an orphanage in England. Roger Ruvi, the owner of the orphanage, confirms that L and Watari are dead. He's talking to two kids. No names yet, but yeah, you already know that something might be brewing there. In episode 27, Abduction, we start with a flashback to 2007. We're at Wayne's house in England, and Roger Ruvi breaks the news to two standout orphans, Melo and Near. L is dead. And guess what? L never picked a successor. So Roger's solution? These two should team up on the Kira case.
It'll never work, Roger. We can't do this together. You know I don't get along with Near.
Yeah, Melo's not really feeling that. He straight up says, nope, that's not happening. He knows he and Near don't vibe. Instead of playing nice, Melo dips. But before leaving, he admits Near should probably be L's true successor. Fast forward 5 years. Near's now in the US, meeting the freaking president and flexing all of L's research. He explains how the Death Notes work and sets up a special squad called SPK to hunt Kira. Basically, he's L 2.0 now, officially. Meanwhile, back in Japan, the Yagami family is acting like a completely normal sitcom family. Matsuda is blushing over how grown-up Sayu looks. Soichiro is ready to murder any cop who tries to marry his daughter, and Ryuk's just kinda chilling, watching all this awkwardness like it's primetime entertainment.
A heartwarming scene from the most unfortunate family in the world.
But the mood shifts quick. Soichiro gets word that the director of police, this guy called Takamura, has been kidnapped. The team is shook, and it gets weirder when the FBI shows up demanding their death note. Light instantly smells that something might be fishy. Cut to Melo, who's behind the kidnapping, trying to outplay Near. He figures out there are two death notes, and he wants them both. Light, feeling the heat, kills Takamura with the death note, hoping to block Melo's plan. Melo, though, shrugs it off and moves on to plan B, kidnapping Sayu. Oh boy. Things spiral, and Soichiro gets a call. Sayu has been taken, and they want the death note in exchange.
The notebook for Light Yagami.
Light realizes maybe killing Takamura wasn't the genius move that he thought it was, all while Ryuk's loving every second of the chaos. In the US, Near pieces together that Melo's probably running this kidnapping operation. He's calm, collected, and already 5 steps ahead. The episode then ends with Light getting on the phone with the SPK, where Near coolly calls Light the second L. Light's inner panic is loud. Near's got the same creepy brainpower vibes as L. and Light knows it.
This strange feeling. What is it?
In the episode Impatience, Nier calls up Light like, "Hey man, how about we team up to save your sister?" Light's all, "Okay." But in his head, he's wondering if Sayu might have to take one for the team. "Light, that's your sister. What are you doing?" The task force heads to LA, but Melo's guys mess with their flight plans and get Soichiro onto a totally different plane. Light tells the team to chill and let it happen. Mid-flight, Melo's goons fake a hijacking, drop Soichiro off in the middle of the desert, and tell him to cough up the death note or else. Nier and Light are tracking all of this, but Melo's got backup plans. He shuffles Soichiro underground out of satellite view. Next thing you know, a missile gets launched, a helicopter explodes, and everybody's confused. Melo got away clean. And Sayu is safe, but at what cost? Back in HQ, Light is so done. He's even scaring Misa with how he's behaving. Over at the SPK, Nier's busy toppling dice towers when suddenly half of his team keels over dead. Thanks, Kira. Then, Nier sends Light a very L-style message. "Hey, so the SPK got wrecked. Let's really work together now. Oh, also, I'm racing some guy named Melo to catch Kira first. Isn't that fun?" Light hears Wami's house, remembers that it's the orphanage that Elle is from, and realizes these two kids could be Elle's successors.
I believe Melo is playing a game with me. He wants to see which of us will be the first to take down Kira.
Cut to the Shinigami realm, where a Shinigami named Sito is complaining to his buddy Harmonia that he lost his death note, the one dropped by Ryuk ages ago and found by Light. Harmonia's like, "Go to the human world and get it back." And then Sito's all like, "For sure." In episode 29, Father, Sayu is back, but she's completely out of it, just sitting silently in a wheelchair while her mom pushes her around. Soichiro's watching, clearly wrecked over how bad things have gotten, especially after handing the death note over to Melo's gang. Meanwhile, over in Shinigami land, Sito shows up looking for his missing notebook. Ryuk's like, "Dude, not my problem. Go find it yourself." Back in the real world, Aizawa and Matsuda return from their Little England trip and figure something out. Melo and Nier aren't random punks. They're from some creepy genius orphanage breeding L 2.0s. They even brought back childhood sketches of both, which is unintentionally hilarious.
So Nier was meant to be L's successor. There's no mistake. He has to be N.
Light, being Light, already has a plan. He sends Misa to peek at Mafia members' faces until she spots one with no lifespan, aka holding a death note. As Light burns the letter, guess who's looking around reading it? Sito. Sito shows up at the Mafia hideout, gets everybody to touch the notebook so that they can see his creepy skeleton face, and reveals that the last two Death Note rules were totally fake. Melo starts piecing together that this notebook probably belonged to Kira. Now Light's next play. He gives up ownership of his notebook, borrows Misa's, and keeps his memories intact. Misa, pretending to be Kira, calls up the task force and promises them a Death Note delivery. In the meantime, most of Melo's goons will conveniently die at midnight. The team gets the second notebook, and Soichiro decides to make the Shinigami Eye deal. He's feeling guilty, and he's ready to risk it all. Midnight hits, Melo's guys drop dead, and the task force storms the place.
Kira is involved after all.
I didn't think he'd go this far. My plan was supposed to be perfect.
Ryuk hangs around to keep Sito in check. They recover the notebook, but Light wants more. He wants Melo's head. Soichiro corners Melo, sees his real name, and has the perfect chance to kill him. But no, he hesitates. Light's internally screaming. Then Melo's guy Jose shows up and mows Soichiro down. Melo escapes after blowing up more of the hideout. At the hospital, Soichiro tells Light that he knows Light isn't Kira, because he saw Light's lifespan. He dies peacefully, still believing his son is the good guy.
Don't you die on me, you idiot!
Light is already moving on. He returns Sito's notebook, keeping just one death note for himself. Ryuk closes the episode with a little truth bomb. Anybody who used the death note is miserable, except Soichiro. He stayed clean. He died happy, totally unaware that his son's the biggest murderer on the planet. In the episode Justice, Nier is chilling at SPK HQ fiddling with his toys, but he's not playing around. He tells Anthony Rester, SPK's second-in-command, he suspects the Japanese task force is working with Kira, and that the second L is probably Kira himself. Cut to the task force watching the latest nonsense on Sakura TV, Kira's Kingdom, hosted by Hitoshi Demagawa, a big-time TV star, and he's been out there praising Kira like he's the messiah. Everybody is disgusted. Matsuda reminds them that the US president is about to give a global speech, so they tune in only to hear America declare neutrality on Kira. Everybody's shocked, except for Light, who already saw this coming. Matsuda even starts doubting whether Kira's really evil.
Those cowards!
I've done it.
Light plays it cool, saying it's not about morality. It's their job to catch Kira. Near, though, he's pissed at the US backing down. Meanwhile, this SPK agent, called Hallie Lidner, gets jumped at home. Turns out it's Melo, face scarred from that explosion, very much alive. He uses Lidner to barge into SPK HQ gun in hand, but instead of pulling the trigger on Nier, he just wants something simple. The photo Nier has of him, to keep himself safe from Kira.
Keep quiet. I can't say 100% for certain, but it shouldn't be possible for you to be killed by the notebook.
In exchange, he reveals two things. Shinigami are real and some Death Note rules are fake. Nier zeroes in on the 13-day rule as the most suspicious. Nier calls Light and wants to test the rule, writing Melo's name to see if it's a lie. Light tells the task force to do it, obviously trying to save himself, and while Matsuda is tempted to get revenge for Soichiro, everyone ultimately votes no. But Light notices that his team is starting to suspect him. Nier makes it worse by making a deal with the team.
If you've been listening to our conversation so far and have any intention of helping my investigation and taking down Kira, then call the number I'm about to give you.
Later, Light overhears Ide, a task force member who doesn't mess around at all, telling Aizawa that he'd rather work under him than Light. Aizawa also hints that he might visit Nier soon. Light's not having any of it. He calls the US president and threatens him, demanding SPK intel. Back in New York, Demagawa shows up, now fully playing Kira's puppet. He broadcasts Nier's HQ location to the world, branding SPK as enemies of Kira. A massive mob forms, ready to storm the building. Misa watches from home, ready to write Nier's name the moment that he steps outside. But then Light hijacks all of Nier's monitors, pretending that he's just discovered Melo's behind it.
Damn it, he's lying through his teeth.
I win, Nier.
Nier is seething at this. He knows that Light is lying, but he can't prove it. Meanwhile, Light's got that smug look, thinking that he's won. Episode 31 kicks off with Melo making his landing in Japan, and he's catching up on the chaos via TV. Demagawa's still doing his thing, flying over SPK HQ, yelling at Kira fanatics to keep smashing the place up. Misa is glued to the screen, waiting for Nier to step out so she can Shinigami eye him to death. Meanwhile, Light plays innocent, telling Nier he should probably get out of there. But Nier's already pieced it together. The timing is way too perfect. He's convinced now. Second L, aka Light, is Kira. He even tells the Japanese task force to consider that possibility. Aizawa starts connecting dots, remembering that our OG-L always had his suspicions about Light.
The original L also thought that Light had to be Kira.
As the mob keeps wrecking the place, Nier pulls a classic L move. They start tossing buckets of cash out of the window. Turns out it's L's inheritance money, and people go full chaos mode fighting over it. This distraction buys Nier and his team enough time to suit up like riot cops, masks and all, and sneak out unnoticed. Once safe, Nier calls up the task force. His number's back in service, and anyone on the team is welcome to call him if they have dirt on Kira.
Well then, I'll be waiting for your call.
As this happens, Light immediately hits up Misa with a new plan. Later, Aizawa actually reaches out to Nier, dropping info about Light and Misa's past confinement and how they use that 13-day rule loophole to clear themselves. He doesn't name names, but Nier is sharp, and he asks if that first Kira suspect volunteered for confinement. Aizawa stays silent, basically confirming it without saying it. Nier also learns all about Soichiro's fake execution stunt. This is all he needs. Nier connects the dots. Kira, Second L, Light Yagami. They're all the same guy.
I phoned Nier and talked to him.
Back at HQ, Aizawa comes clean to Light about calling Nier. Light asks what they talked about, then backtracks, pretending not to care. Aizawa plays it cool, but suggests they put surveillance back on Light and Misa just to clear things up. Light agrees. And then we see Aizawa and Mogi tearing through Misa's place, hunting for a Death Note. They come up empty-handed. Meanwhile, Demagawa's back on TV running his Kira cult show. Now, he's begging people to donate money to build a Kira temple. Yeah, right. The task force watches, disgusted at how he's milking the whole thing for profit. Light's already decided Demagawa's outlived his usefulness.
I don't need him anymore, but I can't do much at the moment.
Sure enough, Demagawa announces his hand-picked officers for Kira's kingdom, and then right there on live TV, all of them are wiped out. The man behind it all is a random Kira fanatic named Teru Mikami. Turns out Light had Misa forfeit ownership of her Death Note and send it to Mikami, wiping her memory clean. Aizawa realizes Light and Misa couldn't have pulled off these latest killings, since Mogi was with Misa the whole time. Doubt starts creeping back in. The episode then wraps up with Mikami, now full on board, talking to Ryuk. He's thrilled to be passing judgment, and when asked what Kira is, his answer is simple.
God.
We start off episode 32, Selection, by diving into Teru Mikami's tragic villain origin story. As a kid, Mikami's out here trying to be a one-man Justice League, protecting bullied kids because he sees the world in black and white, good and evil. His mom is not a fan. She thinks she's just attracting trouble, but those bullies end up dying in a car crash, and so does his mom. Mikami takes that as a sign from God and decides, yes, I'm meant to wipe out evil. So naturally, he grows up to become a prosecutor. Flash forward to Kira's reign, Mikami's convinced that Kira is God.
Evil must be deleted.
Even becomes a regular on Kira's kingdom, basically fanboying hard. Light notices this devotion and hands Mikami a death note. Mikami is absolutely losing his mind. He's ready to delete criminals non-stop.
With this, it doesn't matter if I can't hear his voice. I shall figure out what Kira wants and carry out his will.
Back at the Task Force HQ, Light is thinking, who will Mikami pick as Kira's new spokesperson? Right then, Matsuda walks in. Turns out it's Kiyomi Takada, Light's college girlfriend. Mogi immediately clocks this, and Aizawa's suspicions flare up again. Light, of course, plays it cool. Tells them all that it's perfect. He'll use his past with Takada to their advantage, and even lets Aizawa listen in on their convo. Light calls up Takada, apologizes for ghosting her after college, and flexes that he's now in the police force. Takada agrees to meet, especially since she knows the police aren't doing squat about Kira. She does throw a little shade about Misa, but Light brushes it off.
Misa's just not intelligent enough to be my partner.
Calling Misa, let's just say, not strategic partner material. Meanwhile, Misa's at home, clueless, chatting with Mogi, and surprise! Melo and Matt, who's Melo's longtime assistant, are spying on her, wondering how someone this airheaded could ever be Kira. Back to Light, he preps for the Takada meetup in a hotel room. Investigation team bugging the place. Takada shows up and Light wastes no time, charming her hard. But mid-seduction, she gets a call and it's Mikami. Mikami's like, who's this friend that you're meeting? Light drops a cryptic line about November 26th and 5 pages. Mikami instantly realizes this is his god. Mikami asks if Light's under surveillance, which he is, and then tells him to watch Sakura TV. Right on cue, some random fake spokesperson dies live on air. Mikami is efficient. You gotta give him that. Light uses this to his advantage. Holds up a note to the surveillance cameras telling the team to remove all bugs. They do. Now free to talk, Light tells Takada something along the lines of, I'm Kira. Mikami's my guy. Do you want to be my goddess?
Light is Kira?
Takada is all in, basically swooning. In the end, we see Mikami furiously scribbling names, whispering delete like it's a mantra.
Delete, delete, delete.
While Ryuk watches, completely amused. It's time for episode 33, Scorn. And Nier's done playing the long-distance game. He packs up his creepy little Lego collection and hops on a plane to Japan. His first flight ever, by the way. Man has literally never flown before, but now he's ready to take Kira down face to face. Yeah, we'll see. Light and the crew are working overtime. They cook up a fake Misa comeback plan, mostly to give Mogi access to TV stations as a cover. But before they even finish, boom. Nier calls out of nowhere. He's already in Japan. Light's spidey senses are tingling. Nier casually drops that he knows Light's been talking to Takada. Oh, and he also mentions that the SPK is down to 4 members because Melo trashed the place like a rock star. Nier's basically baiting Light, daring him to make a move. Light's thinking, alright little dude, you want a game? Let's go.
Alright, Nier. If that's how you want it, I'll accept your challenge.
Cut to Nier in his HQ messing with Legos again, labeling Light as L Kira and Mikami as X Kira. He figures the two Kiras can only talk through Takada, which honestly isn't a bad read. Light, on the other hand, is out on a very public date with Takada. The task force listening in. Light slips her a sneaky note mid-dinner like they're in middle school. It tells her to chill, but also asks her to set up as T Kira, Kira's new recruit. Takada is so shocked, she almost flips the table. But Light smoothly plays it off. Mikami's still out here deleting criminals left and right, but now Takada calls him up, telling him to send her a fan letter with 5 pages of the real death note. After that, he'll keep using a fake notebook to throw off suspicion. Mikami's confused for like 2 seconds, but decides, yeah, God's orders, can't question that. Takada ditches her old TV show, now starring in her own Kira propaganda hour, Miss Takada Today. Light quickly figures out one of her bodyguards, Lidner, is probably SPK. Nier's already pieced together that Mikami is the other Kira and sends Jabani, one of the SPK's most trusted spies, to trail him. While all this is happening, Misa throws a tantrum because Takada's the media queen now, not her. She nearly blows Light's whole cover by getting in Takada's face at the TV station, but Lidner steps in before she can wreck everything.
To be blunt, what's important is that L starts focusing his attention on Lidner and Takada. In the meantime, we'll use the opportunity to investigate Mikami further.
Near, Christmas tree in the background, takes all this info and concludes both Misa and Takada are basically simps for Light. Mogi later gets a call. Takada wants dinner with Misa. Misa is half drunk the whole time, running her mouth about how Light's gonna catch Kira and have Takada executed. Takada keeps her cool, but you can tell she's ready to snap. Finally, Giovanni's trailing Mikami, who's being extra boring, until Mikami casually writes a perv's name in his death note on the train, just for being creepy. The guy drops dead, and Giovanni's like, okay, now we got something. We kick off the next episode, Vigilance. Giovanni's still tailing Mikami after that little train incident. He reports back to Nier that Mikami casually murdered a guy just for being a creep. Meanwhile, Light and Aizawa are setting up wiretaps before the next Takada meeting. Aizawa's brain is in overdrive. He's side-eyeing Light hard, wondering why he's so obsessed with foreign bugs, and what the hell Takada's up to. He marks a few notepads to see if Light's playing notebook passing games. At their romantic little date, Takada brings up her awkward dinner with Misa, which has Matsuda absolutely fangirling.
Whoa, he's busted! Light's in the doghouse!
Takada slips Light a note. So, what's Misa to you? Light, smooth as ever, denies everything, but then scribbles back that, yeah, Misa was the second Kira, but she's impulsive and old news. Takada low-key realizes that she's just the new model, but Light seals it with the cringiest thing any guy could ever say.
Believe me, she's nothing. You're the only one for me.
You're the only one for me?
Matsuda and Ide are full-blown gossiping at this point. Meanwhile, Takada's like, if you're lying, I'll tell Kira. Light leans into it and reveals he wants Kira arrested. More notes get passed, Takada's confused but plays along, all while Aizawa keeps squinting harder. Back to Giovanni, he catches Mikami on lunch break, talking to himself like a madman. Lip reading time. Mikami saying, is that you, Shinigami? And how Ryuk's been MIA ever since he handed over the notebook. Nier's just like, alright, cool. No Shinigami interference. Let's move. Light leaves his date, and Aizawa sneaks into Takada's hotel room, checks the notepads. 2 marks are missing. Bingo. He immediately calls up Nier and spills everything. Nier already knew, of course, but tells Aizawa to keep planting doubt.
I must corner him in a dead end with a plan that would guarantee his defeat. This is what it will take to stop him for good.
After that, there's this huge pop festival. Misa's supposed to perform, but before she even hits the stage, Lidner and Rester show up and ask her to come with them. Mogi's okay with it, but Misa, of course, is yelling the whole ride like she's being kidnapped. The task force calls Nier, who tells them to relax. Light's suspicious, but lets it slide for now. That night, Giovanni makes his move. Mikami's at the gym. Yeah, even Kira's gotta hit leg day, come on. And Giovanni breaks into his locker. Turns out Mikami's got a death note stashed like it's his secret stash of steroids. Giovanni touches it, but no Shinigami pop up. He reports back while Nier's back at HQ shaving his creepy little Melo doll like he's losing it. Nier checks with Mogi, how long can Mikami control people with the notebook? Mogi says 23 days, based on the Yotsuba stuff.
With this, we can do it.
Nier's like, perfect. We'll set the showdown for day 24. Fast forward to January, Light and Takada keep their date streak alive. Light tells her to hit him up if she talks to Mikami. By January 6th, Giovanni's got pics of every name in Mikami's notebook. Nier confirms Mikami's handwriting and starts assembling his final plan. We're nearing the end of the show, and it's all coming together. It's episode 35, Malice. January's dragging on, and everybody is still in their usual routine. Mikami's scribbling names, Melo's lurking around watching Takada, and Giovanni's doing whatever Giovanni does, which is basically just stalking Mikami. Oh, and Ryuk's back chilling with Light because he's bored. One day, Takada calls Mikami and drops the ultra sneaky code, and it just says T. And Mikami's like, got it, and immediately confirms it. Takada then texts Light, basically giving him the green light to meet Nier. Giovanni reports back that Mikami's not acting weird, so Nier calls Light himself and finally sets the big meeting. Light is all like, why the hell would you want to meet me? A Kira suspect. Nier's answer? Because if I show up, I'm ending this thing. Aizawa in the corner is already connecting the dots.
The time has finally come for Nier to prove that Light is Kira.
Either Light's exposed, or Nier is dead. Nier sets the rules. Everyone from both teams has to show up. Oh, and they're bringing the death note, but Light's not allowed to touch it. Light agrees, but insists he picks who holds it. Date set, January 28th, 1 p.m. Both think that they've already won. Light even meets up with Takada afterward and tells her something like, hey, by the way, when you get the chance, kill Nier. The next day, Takada's rolling up to the red carpet event, paparazzi everywhere. Flashing lights, and out of nowhere, Matt shows up in his red sports car, throws a smoke grenade, and causes total chaos. Lidner tries to whisk Takada inside, but guess who's waiting? Melo, all mysterious with his bike and helmet, basically saying, hop on. Lidner's like, sure, why not, and lets them go while sending chase cars. Melo easily ditches the cars, cuffs Takata, and disappears into a sketchy alley. Meanwhile, Matt tries to escape but gets cornered by Takata's trigger-happy bodyguards. He surrenders. They immediately gun him down because, Kira justice.
What an idiot.
Melo stashes Takata in some trailer, makes her strip at gunpoint. Yeah, things got really weird pretty fast. But Takata's one step ahead. She hid a piece of the death note in her bra. Once Melo leaves, she writes his real name. Melo drops dead right as they park. Brutal. Takata grabs her phone and rings up Light. Please come save me. Light instantly realizes she's alone now and ready for phase 2. He tells her to start killing people to clean up the mess. Takata does not want to kill all these people, but agrees.
Send me as many names of people to punish as you can. Here's my email address.
Yes. Right, I understand.
While all this is going down, Mikami gets her call and starts prepping his hit list. Light hops in the car with Aizawa and Ide, acting all concerned. But surprise, in the back seat, he pulls out his death note hidden in his watch and writes Takata's name. His plan is to have her light himself and the building on fire, wiping out any evidence and conveniently herself. By the time Light shows up at the scene, the whole place is up in flames. Mission complete. Wow. In the second last episode, 1.28, Takata's dead, and Aizawa's officially had enough of Light's shady nonsense. Meanwhile, with Takata gone, every random weirdo's crawling out of the woodwork, trying to become Akira's next spokesperson.
I mean, they just announced her death and already it started. Every TV station airing its own segment on who should replace her.
Ide and Matsuda are completely disgusted, but Light is sitting smug, convinced everything's still falling into place. Nier hits up Light, double-checking if the big face-off's still happening on January 28th. Light's like, yup, all set. Matsuda and Ide are kinda hyped, but Aizawa's sweating bullets, pretty sure they're all walking straight into a death trap. Nier's crew preps on their end too. Finally, D-Day rolls in. It's rainy, because of course it is. Giovanni's en route, Nier shipping Misa off to some fancy hotel, which is good, the girl finally catches a break, and they get to unlocking the Death Note safe. Everyone has their own secret code, but Aizawa's the last one, and he's thinking hard about all the suspicious stuff that Light has pulled.
The killer notebook.
Light naturally picks Aizawa to carry the Death Note, because Nier would expect that. Light's in the car, daydreaming about his new world where everyone who knows the truth is dead. Super chill. They roll up to the yellow box warehouse. Inside, it's the full task force versus the SPK. But Nier shows up in an L mask, because why not cosplay during a death match? Light's immediately judging him, like, bro, you're not worthy of the mask.
Nier, you're far inferior to L. You have no right to be wearing a mask of L.
Matsuda's wondering why Nier's the only one with a mask, which is a solid question, and Nier shrugs it off. He tells everybody to wait 30 minutes just in case Kira's pulling strings right now. Everybody settles in, and the tension is thick. Light, meanwhile, is barely holding in his evil little giggles.
I never thought it would be this hard to keep myself from laughing out loud.
He knows exactly who's about to show up. Sure enough, Mikami creeps open the door like a cartoon villain, notebook in hand. He clocks everybody's names, including Nier's real name, Nate River, and immediately starts furiously writing like he has 5 minutes left for his final exams. Matsuda whips out a gun, but Nier's guys have him covered. Nier calmly explains that they swapped out Mikami's notebook pages days ago. Dude's been using fakes without even realizing it.
If you've already written down our names, then there shouldn't be anything to be afraid of. You can come right on in.
So, yeah, no one's dying today. Mikami's about to get himself arrested the second he peeks back in. And the only name he didn't write in the notebook is the person who has to be Kira. But plot twist, Light's sitting there with the smuggest grin ever because, surprise surprise, Mikami's notebook is actually real. The one Giovanni messed with was a decoy. Light had Takata orchestrate the whole fake notebook setup ages ago. Mikami's been killing off Takata's instructions the whole time, feeding Nier exactly what Light wanted him to see. Light asks Mikami if he's done writing, and Mikami's like, yeah. Light is ecstatic. Nier's starting to notice how weirdly confident Light is acting, but Light waves it off, waiting for everybody around him to drop dead. With just seconds remaining before everybody meets their fate, Light officially declares his victory to everybody. And the timer ends. It's about to go down.
Well, Nier, looks like I win.
And now we're at the final episode, New World. We pick up immediately where we left off. Everything is going exactly as planned for Light, but after 40 seconds, nothing. Nobody drops dead. Nier doesn't waste a second. Giovanni and Rester cuff him, while Nier reveals they swapped out Mikami's real notebook. Turns out, when Takata got kidnapped, Mikami panicked and exposed his locker hideout, letting Nier's crew track the real deal. Basically, Melo's risky kidnapping stunt gave Nier the final piece that he needed. Nier even credits Melo for outsmarting Light, which definitely stings Light's ego more than the actual arrest. Oh, and he points out Light's name wasn't on the fake death note, which points to him being Kira. Light, now cornered, tries one last desperate move, blaming Nier. He's calling it a setup, gaslighting everybody left and right. But nobody buys it, especially after Light couldn't resist gloating 5 seconds too early. Finally, Light snaps. Full-on villain monologue. He confesses that he is Kira. He starts rambling about justice and cleansing the world like some dark messiah. But Light is not done scheming. He's got a tiny scrap of Death Note hidden in his watch. While everybody's distracted, he cracks it open, ready to write Nier's real name. Except Matsuda, who's had enough, pulls out his gun and empties the clip into Light.
What about your dad? What the hell did he die for?
My dad.
Yeah, sweet. Naive Matsuda is the one who finally puts Kira down. Light is bleeding out, crawling on the ground like a desperate cockroach. Mikami, seeing his god fall apart, is a complete breakdown and stabs himself with his pen. It's all pretty messy. Light, somehow still alive, bolts out of the warehouse. Nier tells the task force to let him go. Light is bleeding out and Nier knows that it's over. But Aizawa is not playing. He leads the team after Light anyway. Light's limping through the city, flashbacking to his younger self. Innocent. Pre-Death Note. Pre-madness. It's honestly sad, if it weren't so fitting. Then, up on a tower, Ryuk shows up. Remember way back in episode 1 when Ryuk said he'd write Light's name himself? Well, the time's up. Ryuk's not about to watch Light rot in a cell. He jots down Light Yagami in the Death Note, casually sealing the deal. Light collapses halfway up some stairs, dying of a heart attack. But before the light goes out, he sees L's ghost standing right in front of him, completely full circle. In the end, Mikami's body is left in the warehouse. Misa, alone, back in her maid outfit, is staring off in the distance. Her purpose is gone. Light dead. Kira's reign ends, not with a bang, but with total collapse. Wow. That's like a perfect ending to one of the greatest anime of all time. That was the entire story of Death Note. Honestly, rewatching the show always kind of hits different. You gotta love the mind games, the plot twists, and of course, that ending. What's your favorite moment from the series? More importantly, are you Team L or Team Light? Don't forget to tell me all about it in the comments. Until next time, have a good day, and as usual, thanks for watching. See ya!